I guess I just wanted to, when you revealed what Josh was going through with his family and his grandmother last night on the Zoom call, it all kind of hit us and added some, perspective to what he'd done. I don't know if you can rank it, or what's your take after looking at the film maybe a day after, to play through something like that and see him deliver the kind of performance he did? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to your team?
Yeah, first let me say, Derek just informed me on the donations that have been flown in with that in mind, and just awesome, man. This is what makes Buffalo so special, and just awesome to hear that news, and so proud of Bills Mafia out there for rallying around Josh in this cause, and like they've done before many times over with Pancho Villa and Andy Dalton's situation, and now this situation, just in the 3 years that I've been around here. So that's what makes Buffalo the community that it is. And but going back to your question, Adam, I think it's, just for Josh to be able to do that and compartmentalize that for a few hours like he was able to do, I think just really shows you his maturity, his willingness to compete at a high level, number one, to compete at a high level, wanted to be around his teammates. Again, it's the guy we know, really.
Is that, as personal as that is, and everyone grieves in a different way and deals with that situation, is that a sign of his growth over the time he's been here, do you think?
Well, look, it's these things are tough. This is the first time I've been around Josh when a situation like this has come up. So I honestly can't say that's a part of his growth, but just really, I think to be able to, go through life experiences and still do your job, that takes, especially in a situation like this, that takes a lot of just a lot of guts, a lot of just mental fortitude, and just toughness, really. You're not going out there to. He's got guys running at him, and he's got to execute at a high level, or the narrative is different, right? If he's not at his best, so I think it just takes an elite performer to be able to do that.
Appreciate that, Sean. Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, Dan Fates up in Rochester. Adam took my two main questions that were really good, but how did the team respond? Obviously, nobody knew about it, but when the team found out the news, you talked to Josh, before team meetings, mood in the locker room, pre-game, how did the team react?
Yeah, so it wasn't, we didn't announce it to the team before the game. It was my correspondence was with Brian Dable and then to Josh the night before the game, and we just left it at that. So I'm sure a certain percentage of the team knew, but obviously want to keep some things private and personal that need to stay that way. So I just again thought he handled it well.
And again, you've seen him since he was, coming out of college, 21 years old. He's been through injuries, criticism, all of that. Is this just another example, like you said, of his maturity, not only on the field, but off of it as well as he's grown?
Yeah, again, just no one wants to go through situations like that. It's unfortunately a part of life. But like I said, to balance going through that and then also going out there to perform at a high level, what more can be said? Just an example of mental toughness.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, John Worrell.
Hi, John.
Congrats on the win. Is it maybe time to take the Bills seriously now?
We're just moving on to the next game, John. I appreciate that. I knew I'd get that at some point today, whether it be you or Sal, maybe, No, but you guys can write your own stories. We're just going to work, stay internally focused and work hard.
More specifically on a player, with Jerry Hughes, he's been around the ball early in the season, and then now things are just paying off. What can you say about the performance he's putting in over the past 3 games?
Well, I think he's come a long way, and I'm extremely proud of him. The work that he's put in every year since I've been here. He's always been a hard worker. I think now what you're seeing is he's benefiting from that hard work, and he's benefiting from the technique that he's using, and a consistent approach every week to practice and in games. And so I think the work that Eric Washington and the coaches have done with Jerry and refining his game has helped as well. So, it's fun to watch Jerry have success at this point in his career in particular.
And just the last thing, last week somebody asked you about the team, maybe whether you thought the team was finding an identity, and you said we're getting close. Are we seeing more signs of that given the attacking nature that we've seen from this defense, especially over the last little while?
Well, I just think it's the evolution of a team, really, John. And listen, there's things we have to get better at, not only defensively, but offensively and special teams. And part of that's my job to assess where we are and what we need to work on and how we need to grow.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, I guess just some Monday clerical stuff. Can you give us any injury updates?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge so far, I mean, most of the injuries that occurred yesterday are day-to-day type injuries. So nothing new really overall in the injury front.
I asked you big picture last week at this time about your offensive line. And then, of course, as you discussed after the game last night, you had some more issues there. I guess just a big picture about your offensive line and the versatility with another game of them having to deal with that, what your just your impressions of that unit has been.
Well, I think they're resilient. They're highly competitive guys to start off, Tim, and but yet it's interesting. They have formed this kind of pack mentality there, and while competing with one another, they're a nice bond of brothers, if you will. And so that's fun to watch. It's good to have, and I just love yesterday when some of those guys unfortunately did go down. Their replacement, who was jogging on the field, was coming to check on them first, as opposed to, just being a competitor. You go out there, you're buckling up. Hey, it's my chance. I'm going to get in that huddle. But they had the wherewithal to go over and love for their teammate to check on their teammate first that was hurt, and I think that says a lot about the guys.
What's the obviously you're expected to go out there and play regardless of your position, wherever you've practiced during the week. But when there is a shuffle like that, what is your concern as a head coach as you watch the next series or that series, maybe when a player comes out, of having to kind of translate what your job should be to what it is now, because now I'm on the other side of the line, or I'm moving from tackle to guard? I'm being very general, but what are you looking at? Or do you just leave that up to Bobby and to Brian to kind of monitor that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll monitor it as well. Just keep my eye on it. But I've got a lot of confidence in our guys.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, Mike Catalana. All the years you've coached defense, I'm sure there was a time 400 yards, 34 points, you would have looked at it as maybe not your best. But yesterday, I thought the defense, outside of Josh and the offense, won the game for you. Have you had to sort of change the way you look at what success is? This modern NFL with such an emphasis on offense and scoring, it's so difficult to get the 3 and outs and stop teams. And you got the turnovers yesterday, which flipped the whole game. Have you had to sort of adjust what success is?
I don't know. I still have pretty high standards for our team and our defense in this case. I think the biggest thing is evolving with the times, and not being afraid to think outside the box as we go through a season in particular. It's one thing to sit down after the season and say, hey, where are we? But certainly during the season to just try to stay current with what's going on as well.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, it's Kim Jones. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I got you, Kim.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you about 2 guys quickly, if I may. I thought Andre Roberts in that first kickoff return yesterday just set you guys up so nicely, and I can think of some other instances this season he's done that. I never talk about him. That's on me. But I wanted to ask about his contributions. And the second one would be, did Tremaine Edmonds look a lot like Tremaine Edmonds yesterday?
Yes to both. Andre, first and foremost, he gave us a huge spark early in the game, and he's done that on a consistent basis this season, Kim. And one of our captains for good reason, one of the true leaders on our football team, and a guy I really count on. And he got us off to a great start. And then the impact is felt because teams aren't wanting to kick to him either. So we get the ball at the 25-yard line there sometimes. And so anyway, I thought he got us off to a great start. And Tremaine, I thought had a good solid game yesterday. And I think he's getting back to being himself, to your point.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean, we talk about Josh, what he went through this past weekend. I'm working on a story with Mario right now. And I know he mentioned to me last year when he lost his brother, you and Brandon reached out to him. Just what can you say about his mental toughness? Because I know that the year anniversary came up of when his brother passed away, and just what has he meant to this team, tied with Jerry for the lead in sacks. Can you just speak to what he's been able to do since coming here to Buffalo for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, when you go back and look at his story, Heather, where he's come from and how resilient he's had to be with his career, and then losing his brother, just the life experiences that different people go through. In this case, Mario, I think it's really refined him as a young man into who he is. I have an incredible amount of trust. We have an incredible amount of trust in him, and then he works extremely hard, and he's a great teammate. Here's a guy that was on Washington's practice squad when Brandon and our personnel department found him years ago, and now look at what he's been able to do with his career. And so just extremely proud of him, and he brings all of that DNA and that character to our football team. And I know when moments get tough, we can count on Mario.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Sean. I know you mentioned yesterday, if the fans had been there, you would have gotten that true game day atmosphere, but it still kind of had that playoff feel, right? Going up against, one of the best teams in the league. What do those games do for your team as you head into these important months of the year, to have a game like that and to feel what that's like, even though the stadium was empty?
Yeah, as you said, Matt, we wanted to have our fans there, and some great games we've been able to have at home and that's the part we missed, but we can't control that. And we know they're watching from home and on their TV, so we certainly appreciate that, and we love them for it. But just overall, I think it was a great atmosphere, great energy in the stadium. It was back and forth, and our guys just kept plugging away. And I thought they took the right mindset into the game to begin with, even the week of practice, and then that carried through in the game and all the way through the game. I mean, they're a tough out, just in terms of you got to play 4 quarters or for however long it takes. And I think our guys did that and embraced that mentality all the way through the game.
You've been through a few of these stretch runs now with this group and some of these guys. What do you hope? What have you learned, or what do you hope the guys have learned having gone through it to apply to November and December and, hopefully January this time around?
Yeah, well, that's why we work. I mean, to stop working once training camp is over it's not the right approach, at least in our mind. And this is why you have to continue to develop as you go through the season, developing the fundamentals, developing and improving how you do things and the execution level and all that. So you continue to grow as a football team so that you can play good down the stretch.
Thanks, Sean.
Coach, good afternoon. Mookie Hawkins, 1-4 Sports 1080. How you doing?
Good, Mookie. How are you?
I'm good. Yesterday, we talk about complimentary football at its best yesterday. I mean, the offense was clicking. Andre Roberts definitely set the tone. I know you was real pumped for him to get out and set the tone with that 60-yard kickoff return. And the defense just flashed like it was last year. Care to talk about what do you have to do to duplicate yesterday's performance?
Well, I think we got to come back with a chip on our shoulder this week and put a good week of practice in and have great clarity around how we're going to go about game planning and the game plan and the expectation level. we still got a lot of football yet to be played, and we're going to go face a good Arizona team out at their spot. We're going to have to travel across country here, and so we got to get back to work.